Pretty nice introduction.
Not too bad.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I want to go play in the snow a bit more now, Signa.
I know. So Signa Butler and Kelly VanderBeek with you today. And we're pretty excited because we've been sitting around in pandemic land waiting for like the true winter sports season to start. And it does this weekend on Road to the Olympic Games. So at least we're adding a few more sports into the calendar. We know that you've seen a little bit of bobsleigh and skeleton. We know you've seen a little bit of alpine skiing, but freestyle skiing in effect this weekend. And we're pretty excited about that. And of course, I'm excited to talk to Kelly because I know last weekend, maybe Canadians caught something that you wrote for us at cbcsports.ca. Like really, I mean, this is the reality we're in right now, right? It's a pandemic, COVID-19, the coronavirus, like everyone's familiar with these words, but this is something that you faced head on. And first of all, I got to ask how you're feeling. And I think good, because I mean, you're glowing right now. So I think you're pretty happy. Out of quarantine.
It's all makeup, Signa. No, I am feeling good. So yes, if you haven't read my piece, I wrote about me having COVID-19 and the stigma around and the shame around that feeling of knowing you have tested positive and how to communicate that to the community or who you may have been around in that time. Following the letter of everything that I was told medically, like, okay, who do I call? Who do I contact? How do I navigate this moving forward? As well as within my family, like how does the impact have on them? And that's what the piece was about. And I am now out of quarantine. My son, my family, we're all good. We're all healthy. And we were the lucky case, right? I mean, no symptoms for myself at all. I was totally asymptomatic. And it also reaffirms why contact tracing is so important as well.
Nice. I'm glad you shared that story. I think a lot of Canadians probably feel the same way. I mean, we're all facing different parts of it around the country, right? Whether you're in, what was only the hotbed was Ontario and Quebec, and now we're seeing it everywhere in this second wave. And it's really important to do all of the things that we've been doing, right? Mask wearing, washing those hands, staying as close as we can to home. And I feel bad. I feel bad for all the kids out there, right? Like, they're not able to do those activities that we grew up doing in the wintertime right now. I mean, I think people will still get a chance to enjoy the outdoors. What do you guys have planned where you guys are right now?
Well, thankfully, so I live in Canmore, Alberta. So just going out our door, we are in the mountains. It is Canada's backyard playground, and we are very thankful for that. So we ski at Lake Louise, actually. That's our home club. So although I'm not there right now for a big event that should be happening, we are still engaged with the hill. We're still there. It is our home. It is what we love to do. And finding ways to be outside. I mean, wild ice, we call it in the mountains. And the wild ice means the natural ponds that are freezing before the snow comes. And it's just been the thing to do for the last few weeks here in the mountains. Everybody's out skating on the wild ice. So it's been pretty spectacular.
I think physical activity is one of the things that's helped me through this 9 months of kind of being locked in. So yeah, everybody get out there. Maybe we'll be watching one weekend on Road to the Olympic Games. You never know. Which is what we're here to talk about, of course. And I before we talk about alpine skiing, which I know is your forte as an Olympian in alpine skiing, and of course, a broadcaster with us at CBC. Breaking news this morning, Mikhail Kingsbury, of course, the winningest mogul skier of all time, unfortunately, has a back injury. So he's going to be out 4 to 6 weeks. And I mean, he is the king. And I know you've interviewed him, you know him well. I know he's probably going to be back for that Calgary World Cup. I did talk to a coach from the World Cup team this morning. He's really hungry to chase after that 10th Crystal Globe in a row. Like, he's won everything. Like, how confident are you that we'll see Mikhail Kingsbury back at the exact peak we saw him last season?
I'm pretty confident because it's Mikhail Kingsbury. I mean, if ever there's somebody to doubt, he is not the man to doubt. But he's been such a physically fit and such a specimen his entire career. He's had, whenever I interview, and you know this too, Signa, when you're working with athletes, I never ask, so how are the injuries or how are you feeling? It's like, oh, what hurts and to what degree? There's always something happening. There's always something niggling. And Mikhail Kingsbury, he's had a very solid physical career, as well as the results. And that in and of itself is something to be noted. And that isn't something we talk about too often, because It's not a storyline for him. And now this is. And I'm actually really happy to hear the length of time he's taking. It shows the quality of his handlers or the people working around him, as they recognize we need to take a step back, a significant step back, and we will regroup. And then he still has a shot at that 10th Globe in a row, because it's a good number, right? 1, 0, 10, it's nice round, it looks good, it sounds good. So yeah.
I'm fully confident. And you know what? It kind of gives the Moguls team, I know, like, you know, the headline's often on him. So this is an opportunity for some other athletes on that freestyle team. Your Justine Dufour-Lapointes and Chloe Dufour-Lapointes of the world. There's also a younger group coming up underneath them. So I'm interested to see who steps up. Like, it'll be kind of interesting. My money's on the Dufour-Lapointe sisters. There you go.
Well, and hopefully it's Canadians. As long as we have the maple leaf there, I think as Road to the Olympic Games, and Canadians will be happy about that. But a lot of the internationals too, they're going to be going, oh, sorry, what? That, you know, and there's been a lot of on the second and third step. And I was somebody who was second step to Lindsey Vonn several times. So I know what it feels like firsthand to have an international go, oh, maybe now is my time to shine. So, yes. And I mean, and in the alpine side, Michaela Schifrin, she, you know, 66 wins, like she's a superstar, and there too, there's some transition happening. Who knows how long that'll last.
We shall see. This weekend, you know, we've got a couple alpine events, but you mentioned Lake Louise. We normally see you there. This is normally the Canadian World Cup, and kind of, I mean, we call it the signature event because it kind of kicks off the season for us at CBC. First time, you know, since 1994, we haven't had a World Cup there. Like, what's the void feeling like in terms of the ski community there?
It's notable. It's notable. It is such a staple for the athletes, for the volunteers, for the association, and for this region as well. So it's notable. It's a void. It's just a different vibe and every way, shape, and form. And the pandemic, it's hit everybody, and it's hit everybody in every sector slightly differently. And so I look at the athletes and how they're coping, and the volunteers I found fascinating. I had somebody just reach out to me, and they're doing a Zoom chat tomorrow, all the sled dog volunteers, to connect. Because you forget about how far reaching a cancellation is. It's not just the athletes or the television coverage. It's the people who give up 1 or 2 weeks every year to come to Lake Louise to shovel snow, put up nets. Like, our net monkeys and our sled dogs are world renowned for the work that they do. And they too are feeling this loss.
I feel for them. No World Cup in Canada. It doesn't mean that there's not World Cups happening right now, because there are. We're going to be overseas this weekend, and we've got giant slalom for the men, and we've got, what do we got for the women this weekend? We've got
St. Moritz Super G.
St. Moritz Super G. Okay, so let's talk about the women first with the Super G, because I know Petra Vlhova right now, the World Cup leader in terms of the standings. Michaela Schifrin, you know, she hadn't skied in 300 days or something like that before the season started. Is there a bit of hunger brewing? Like, do you see, you know, Schifrin kind of shooting back up, or is she kind of, you know, maybe reserving herself a little bit, because next year, of course, is the Olympic year?
I think Schifrin took a step back. She lost her father last year, a back injury. And so she's taken a step back to sort of regroup. And her first slalom race is back, second and fifth, I believe it was. And she's, I think, like all of us with age, you have perspective, and that perspective, she didn't do the parallel this last weekend. She was like, okay, I'm going to take this off and I'm going to prepare for the Super G in St. Moritz. She recognized she hasn't been doing as much training, both because of the pandemic as well as her back injury and the loss of her father and stepping back for a while. So that's a lot to layer on. And if nothing else, she is a competitor, and she will be out there, and she is insanely good at the speed events, the Super G and downhill. I mean, when she just showed up, it was like, I think her third down, she finished third, and she was on the podium ever. And you're just like, okay, well, Schifrin is not just a slalom skier anymore, in everybody's eyes. But it'll be interesting to watch her. And the Canadians, the vibe within the team is fascinating, because so often we say we don't train enough with the internationals. And then our slalom skiers have been very isolated in their training, intentionally because of the pandemic. Everybody's doing what they can to limit exposure, all of those things. So they've functioned in it, and as a unit, they are kicking They are now, I mean, they just hit the ground running with success in Solden, but then the slalom and levy, 2 days, 3 people in the top 3 with a different third person. So, and Ronnie Remy going out. Like this is a strong group of women, and that momentum will continue and carry into the Super G with Marie-Michelle Gagnon and some different names.
Awesome. Freezing up a little bit, so I'm going to just talk it out and hopefully we'll get, oh, there you are. Here, we're back. It's probably, I don't know who's in it. Anastasia Busis was making fun of me for having dial-up internet yesterday, and I, for the record, don't, although sometimes it does feel like it, so apologies there. On the men's side of things, you know, earlier this year, Manny Osborne Paradis announcing his retirement officially. It is kind of a bit of a changing of the guard, and can we look to another Reed to carry on the Canadian tradition?
We heard of a Reed before. It rings the bell, but this is Eric Reed that we're talking about. He also has a younger brother who's doing pretty well on the speed side, Eric more on the tech side, and really strong start to the season, continuing with that momentum moving forward. And so much of what's happening within Alpine Canada, there is a new leader there, new CEO, Therese Brisson, who is really moving the organization towards being a thought leader within the sporting community, as well as just within the community that they meant, D-Cross, Para, and Alpine. And one notable thing that thinking about Lake Louise and the athletes and training and the pandemic, it reminded me that in Panorama, they just got a whole bunch of races off, which is epic for this time of year anyhow. But they also had training, Super G training, that included the Para team, the ski cross team, and the Alpine team for the first time ever together preparing for events. And that's really cool.
How much momentum, like, or what do you feel like when you're in that situation? That's almost like a mini Olympic Games, you know, in one place. Like I got, you know, Panorama's the place to be right now. I know there was also training in Penticton at Apex earlier on this summer, but Panorama is just like, it's a fixture really for training for a lot of these teams. And I know the Para team has been there quite a bit, but it must be nice to have everybody there in one place.
It is. I mean, anytime you bring community together, and a lot of the training happens together within circuits. So you'll go to Chile or to North America or to glaciers in some part of the world. But to have that in Panorama here, and to have Sydney and the different organizations, because you can be very siloed. We all work so hard. We're on the road so much that we function out of need and necessity to function in those silos. But it is nice to have moments to see that overlap because there's always something we can learn from amazing teammates and inspirational people. And even Manny, he's retired, but he lives just down the road from Panorama. So he was actually up there. He's been up there a lot. So of course, Manny in there like a dirty shirt, I'm sure having a blast, helping as much as he can.
Well, nice. I know the ski cross team, unfortunately, like they've had a few like schedule switches for them. I'm excited to see what they have in store. It's always exciting. We'll have some more races for you coming up in a couple weeks on CBC. So keep your eyes open for that. Pardon me. I have to ask you about some news from yesterday. And this is one of Canada's, I call him just one of the all-time greats in skiing. He's a Paralympic Paralympic gold medalist from 2014 in Sochi. Josh Dueck, a gem, you know him well. The right leader for Beijing 2022. He was announced the chef de mission yesterday. What are your thoughts?
He's the perfect leader for a Paralympic team heading into Beijing, a challenging year for so many reasons. But Josh, he has been through so much, and he said, our character is forged by the fire that we endure. And he has a way with words, he has a way with people, and he has a way with leadership. So Josh will be an excellent leader, a perfect selection for this. And I know he, when he first found out, he was like, oh, what am I doing? And he's like, no, I'm in the right place. This is what I should be doing, leading our Paralympic team to Beijing. I think I can think of nobody person for the role, and he is an inspirational individual. And if you don't know him, just Google Josh Dueck and Ellen, and you'll see him on Ellen DeGeneres, because he did do an inverted backflip. Yeah, that's pretty impressive. First ever in the world to do that in a sit ski. So Josh, always the entertainer and an exceptional leader. So I look forward to our team excel under his leadership.
Yes, TED Talker, a man for all seasons, Josh Dueck, happy to see it. He was the closing ceremony flag bearer in 2014 in Sochi at those Paralympic Games. And man, when he used to like wheel around the village, like people would just like come up to him. Like he just had this like magnetism. So, you know, great words from him there. Okay, I have to ask you, what are you looking forward to most? I'm throwing you this because you didn't know I was going to ask you this, but what are you looking forward to most this year? Because Beijing 2022 is not that far away. We still get tons of qualifying events for athletes to get underway. What are you looking for? Are there any sort of like dark horse athletes that you're keeping your eye on, or just what are you expecting to happen in this next year or so? I think my wordiness may have froze Kelly. I'll wait for one more second. But yeah, my wordiness probably killed the internet connection on its own. I'll tell you what, the things that I'm looking forward to the most, because I get to say that, I'm looking forward to calling the RUCA Moguls event this weekend on CBC Sports. That's at, I believe, 4 or 5 Eastern time. Check your local listings though. Calling that with Jen Heil, the Olympic gold medalist and Olympic silver medalist in moguls, of course. Can't wait to call that with her. Even without Mikhail Kingsbury, it's going to be a fantastic way to start out the season. It's the 11th year running that we've been in RUCA. That'll be great. And of course, alpine skiing getting underway this weekend. We have the magic of Lake Louise just to take us back at those World Cups that have happened out there just outside of Calgary. And hey, you know what? Hey, she's back. Yes,
I'm back. I was like, what's going on? I all of a sudden everybody disappears. So I'm like, well, I'm going to just change places. I'm not sure what happened there, but
it works. It was the magic. You're back. I was asking, I said that I basically kicked you off because I was talking too much. But okay, like what are your like, you know, what are you looking forward to most on the road to Beijing 2022? Although we have another Olympics to get through before that in the summer. But a lot of these athletes, you know, they have to qualify. Their qualifying efforts, you know, start this year, and they've been accumulating points, et cetera, at events. But, you know, what are you looking forward to most?
To be honest, I think I'm looking forward to a lot of our competitions that are going to happen in Canada, because I think that a lot of our athletes are focusing on those, like Mikhail Kingsbury, and you mentioned the moguls coming to Calgary, our curling, how they're having a bubble here in Calgary as well. We're having all kinds of things like that I think are going to be really interesting, because I think athletes are going to be a bit more comfortable in their own country during a pandemic, no surprise there. And I think that they will also be a big part of qualifications, because there's a lot of uncertainty outside of our country. So I think that, not that there isn't also in our country, but I think that those will be the events that I'm going to key on the most, looking to see how our athletes perform there, because I think a lot of focus will be put on those events heading into Beijing qualifications. And of course, like you said, there is a Summer Olympics before we get to Beijing, although it's hard to wrap my brain around it all right now. So
I know. Let's get through this winter first. And, you know, fingers crossed, Team Science is pulling things off behind the scenes right now. So, you know, with any luck, we'll all be safe and sound and back to normal life sooner than later.
I hope so. I'm happy to be out of quarantine, so hopefully nobody else has to go through it, but I know it's going to happen, and it is what it is. We will get through this together, right, Signa?
Yes, you got it. And I'm so glad to see you glowing, happy as ever, and we can't wait to see you back, hopefully mountainside very soon.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. And it was always fun to talk about our winter wonderland and our athletes here in Canada. So thanks for having me, Signa. Okay. Have a great day. And thanks for everybody watching and tuning in.
See you, Kelly. Yeah, so the road to the Olympic Games this weekend, we're adding a few more things onto the winter calendar. Can't wait. It's December. It's time. And even in this pandemic and the world we're living in, why not tune in and watch some of these athletes that you'll be watching on the road to Beijing 2022. Thanks so much for watching, and we will see you well, next time there's some news to talk about.